Hi, my name is Lars Nilsen. I program here at Austin Film Society. Happy to have you here. This is our second year that we've done Jewels in the Wasteland. And at this point, it's such a huge success that I think that we're just going to have to do it every year. I mean, I don't think there's any way around it. And so we started off, we did 80 through 83, and now it's 84 through 86. At some point, it's all going to converge, and we're just going to do movies from like the future. Or so I don't know how that's going to work. Did anybody come to any of the Jewels in the Wasteland shows last year? All right. So we've got a lot of people that have never been to one of these before, right? Yeah, like a whole bunch. This is great. So here's the way that this whole thing works with these screenings. And I think it's an exciting sort of different kind of thing that we do. So first of all, we'll bring up our special guest. And I won't say his name because you'll start applauding. So we'll bring up our special guest who will introduce the film. And then he'll give this incredible introduction, like the best, like the most amazing introduction you've ever heard. He'll give to the film with all this like cultural context, like relating personal anecdotes and all this stuff, and it's just gonna blow your mind. And then we're gonna watch the movie, and it's gonna be at 35 millimeter, and it's gonna be amazing, and you're just gonna be destroyed. And then he and I are gonna come up here, and we're gonna sit in these chairs. And we're going to talk a little bit about the film, and we're going to have a discussion in the round. Not a Q&A exactly, where it's like you ask Rick a question, but a kind of a discussion around where you're like, you know, I really like that hat, and it reminded me of a hat that I had in 1984. Well, maybe not something like that, but you know, you get the idea. Like we're having a discussion in the round. So it's kind of like a little sort of citizenship thing. So like just kind of as you're going, think of a cool thing to say. Think of a good question, think of a good contribution, and then when it's all over, we'll have like the most amazing discussion that you've ever had. This series is going to continue through, we just confirmed that it's going to continue through the first week of June, actually. This is going to keep rolling on. You guys are showing up for the first movie. That happened last year, too. A lot of people showed up for King of Comedy for the first movie, but then when we got into like Jean-Luc Godard's like Every Man for Himself, those guys weren't around. So what I just want to make a special point that like these movies, we're not just throwing some junk up there. Like these movies have been specially chosen because they're incredible. And if you watch them all, you will have gone through an amazing journey of cinema history, and you would have you couldn't go take a class from Rick Linklater. You couldn't go to like any university and go to take a Rick Linklater taught class. He doesn't do stuff like that. But you guys have like the unique opportunity to see every single one of these movies introduced by Rick Linklater. So hang in there, even through like the difficult ones, even through the ones about like the guy in the hospital and the axe swinging and hitting a lamp. Like hang in there through that kind of stuff. I've got some sheet music I got to read. Tonight's screening, and we do a lot of screenings here at AFS actually, but this screening is sponsored by Sundance Now Doc Club, a new streaming video service dedicated exclusively to documentaries. Check them out at docclub.com and try the service for 30 days for free. That's for free. Oh my God, we're so good to you people. So try that. Also, you may have seen the French crime series. We're doing a whole French crime series starting this weekend with the Sicilian Clan, and I really wanted to give that an extra push that you guys should come out and see those French crime films that we're doing for the next 3 weeks. I'm going to shut up now, and we're going to bring to the stage the man who programmed the series and the man who's going to blow your mind, Richard Linklater.
Lars, thank you. I'm not really here to blow your mind. Lars sets the bar way up there. No, thank you guys for being here. I mean, I'll admit it right now. This film series, like the last one, is incredibly selfish and self-serving. I personally just want to see all these films from the 80s again, many that I haven't seen in a long time. I got older and I realized, hey, I kind of, you know, when you're a young film enthusiast, it's all happening and it's all in the past. But I realized I've been doing this long enough, like my own enthusiasms now are film history. You know, I'm giving you what this is. It's not academic. I haven't done research. You're not going to be tested. It's really just my subjective view of where I was at, you know, seeing these movies for the first time. And the point of view here is a, you know, film geek, dropout, punk view of the 80s. And we enjoyed the films last time. And it's really rare, and we got to give Lars a huge round of applause for digging up these 35 prints. So, you know, we're not watching We're not watching a video. You're actually in a theater with other people in a darkened theater watching a 35 millimeter print. So that, we have to appreciate that while that's still a possibility. And like Lars, I want to encourage all of you to come to all these. The sum is greater than the parts. And it all adds up to something. If you really want to have this 80s film experience. So, next week, Pope of Greenwich Village. A lot of this are holdovers in, we had Eric Roberts in Star 80 and Mickey Rourke and Rumblefish. They're back. Two of the greatest actors of their generation up there. David Lynch's masterpiece. Dennis Hopper continues from, we showed Out of the Blue last time, and Blue Velvet. L'Argent, Robert Bresson's final masterpiece, the hospital axe movie. It's one of the best hospital axe movies ever made, and we really expect you all to be here. No, that's a film that truly changes lives. I saw it in 1984 here, and it's a masterpiece, one of the greatest movies ever made. So, it's French, so. Different than the French crime films we're showing. Equally great. Don't miss those French crime films. I've been missing Richard Pryor lately, so Jojo Dancer. Saw some documentaries about him recently. They didn't even mention this film. Richard Pryor made a very personal autobiographical film, like in '86, that I remember liking quite a bit, and it's kind of fallen off his resume for some reason. He's been gone 10 years, so I want to check that again. And just kind of, a lot of this is an exploration. Is that film as good as I remember? Where is that in film history? Does it, let's check it out. And Richard Pryor is probably, I want to theorize right now, Richard Pryor I think is the best actor, guy who's like the greatest stand-up, one of the greatest comedians ever, but also a really great actor, and it's his movie. So River's Edge, kind of my favorite of the John Hughes Valley Girl. We showed Valley Girl last time. There's a lot of teen movies in the 80s, but my favorite is River's Edge, also with Dennis Hopper, Keanu Reeves' first movie, and that's dark. A lot of these movies are kind of dark, but it's great. It's great. So that's, and then Mishima, Paul Schrader's, it's a Japanese film, kind of, but Paul Schrader had a good 80s. And then Sid and Nancy, Alex Cox's punk rock masterpiece. And these aren't in order, actually. These are just the titles. And then Summer, Eric Rohmer's wonderful movie. We'll watch that. It'll practically be summer, or be heading towards summer by the time we watch that. So anyway, so Stranger Than Paradise. Gosh, it'd be hard to say just how influential this film is into American indie film, to filmmaking. I think this was one of those watershed moments for filmmakers and audiences. The American indies have been going for a while. It's 84 at this point. So, John Sayles and, they've been, every year the American indie world had really taken hold. They're opening regularly, and that's becoming a really viable thing, that less so in the 70s. So a lot of alternate theaters and a lot of indie titles coming out. It was a great time. A lot of these films are indies. My basic view of the 80s, they, like you would imagine, it kind of sucked. The Hollywood was pretty bad in the 80s. Hence our title. Lars picked that out, though. I think. But you see the indie films really coming to the fore. And I think when I think of Stranger Than Paradise, I think of, I'll give you my viewpoint at that point. It was kind of the Reagan 80s. He'd just been reelected, I think, and MTV. It was just this kind of awful time, if you think about what, and again, dropout punk kind of guy. But it was just kind of ugly. MTV had sort of, in my mind, cheapened imagery. It was all this kind of vacuous cutting, and imagery didn't mean anything, all the quick cutting. Like when Peckinpah cut, it meant something, but this was just flashy crap, typified in stuff like, Flashdance, and that was Hollywood. So Stranger Than Paradise, I just say all that for a young person who has no idea, but this film drops right into the middle of the culture of that moment, and it was so exciting to see this kind of black and white, very minimal. I'd say Jarmusch comes from, minimalism, kind of comes out of the 50s, 60s, 70s, but you saw it in films too. The most minimal films would probably be Andy Warhol's, filming the Empire State Building for 9 hours, somebody sleeping. There's this minimalist thing going in filmmaking. Also, kind of structuralist films, very mathematical, but what they all usually don't have that Jarmusch brings to it so brilliantly is more narrative elements. This is an actual story. A minimal one, but and also just humor and a real cinematic vision. So this film just kind of blew everybody away. And I haven't seen it since the late 80s, I don't think. A lot of people here, I saw it a lot then. And but it's a seminal film for a generation. So and it should be one of those. I was talking to John Pearson right before the show. We all agree this one really should be seen in a theater on the big screen. It's that kind of movie. So plenty more to say. It's a road movie too. So. And for Jarmusch, I think it fits in that category of like backyard film. It's very inspiring to young filmmakers because it's in that category of, hey, he just made a film about what was in front of him, kind of his own backyard. Well, his own backyard at this point is the Lower East Side in New York, but it's also, Jarmusch is from, Akron, Ohio, along with, which is, in the movie, you see it kind of portrayed, Cleveland, I guess. It's winter, it's kind of grim, but Jarmusch escapes Akron, along with Chrissy Hyde from The Pretenders, the Devo, the Mother's Ball guys, LeBron James, Akron, great place, great place to escape from. I guess LeBron's back, but anyway, so it's a road movie, it's a backyard movie, and it's a revelation. So Lars and I'll be up after to talk about it with anything you guys want to talk about. So okay, enjoy.
All right. That was fun. It's so good. It's such a good movie.
It's so funny what you remember and what you forget. I totally forgotten the ending, the whole drug deal, the money and all that. It's funny what you remember. I remember all the little things.
Yeah, you remember like just all the little Richard Edson reaction shots and stuff.
Yeah.
Because I hadn't seen that in 25 years probably.
Eyes. Yeah, but I was also watching it, in 1984, this looked like 1958.
Looks like honeymooners.
So now I was like, if you're young, 1984 didn't look like that. The 80s, all the cars are old. I mean, not so intentionally, just kind of. I guess.
How did you? Because you were in Austin by '84.
Yeah, I just moved here.
How do you not move to New York
when you see
Varsity
that? Theater.
When you see this, how do you not I'm moving to New York?
I don't know. Is it that good a depiction of New York?
But it makes it look so like.
I lived in a huge room in West Campus. $150 a month. They were kind of. No.
It makes it look
I don't know.
cool.
It was definitely hip. It was definitely
yeah.
like the coolest thing ever. But it's such a relentless. The Lower East Side, I would love to see someone go there and that when she's walking, when we first hear Screaming Jay Hawkins, someone just needs to put that right next to what it looks like today.
Yeah, like Urban Outfitters, Starbucks,
condos everywhere. But that's funny. But you see what I mean as far as this to me just means like such a to the yuppie '80s, which is really it's such like a these guys don't give a shit about any of that. They don't care where their money comes from. They don't seem to have jobs. They bet on horses, dogs, whatever. It's just funny. The whole
it's kind of
ethos of these guys.
It's and the aesthetic is kind of this weird sort of late night Joe Franklin WOR kind of aesthetic. Yeah. Like they're constantly watching TV. Like even though no matter where they are.
Yeah, it's really just so banal. At first I was thrown when I first saw it because one of the horses they list, the last one is Tokyo Story.
Right.
I thought, were those movies? Do they like movies? Are they going to movies? I was confused, but no, they don't seem interested much. I don't know.
They're not really interested that much in anything. Was there anybody here?
That's what's so funny about it. It's
like
what do you want to do? They're in. What do you want to do? I don't know. It's just like.
Because it's like waiting for Godot, and then it's all mixed up with like just this sort of like these wasteoids,
I know.
And
the culture couldn't have been more gung ho at that moment. That's what makes it to me, but it's so funny. Everybody was just like.
And those guys were real sort of like, even though like it looks like the honeymooners in this, like these were like really happening. Like Richard Edson was like the first drummer for Sonic Youth, and like these guys were like really.
Yeah, Lurie has his own
dudes.
band. He's like the coolest guy in New York. The Lounge Lizards. There was an Austin Lounge Lizards. They made him change their name.
Very different.
Yeah, but he's a sax player. He has a cameo in Jarmusch's film right before this. He had done, I guess, his master's thesis out of at Columbia, I guess. Or then he went to NYU, but he had done a film before Permanent Vacation, and Lurie shows up just for one memorable scene playing his saxophone. But they were buddies, and then he's so good in the next movie, Down by Law, 2 years later,
with Tom Waits and Roberto Benigni.
Yeah, that
movie's great.
Takes it up a notch,
That movie's as funny as this one. I'm sure a lot of people did. A lot of people just see this for the first time just now.
I imagine a lot of you.
Yeah, probably a lot of people did. Yeah, go watch Down by Law next.
Watch every Jarmusch film. You're not going to go wrong, but just march through them if you haven't done that.
What would you say is like your next favorite Jarmusch film while we're at it?
Wow, that's a tough one. I mean, I like them all, and it depends on the mood. You know, in a way, Dead Man maybe. You know, his Western also to be seen on the big screen, black and white. That Ghost Dog. I mean, I don't know. I like them all.
Yeah, he's a major world filmmaker.
Yeah,
without a doubt.
In his own class, you know, for sure.
Only Lovers Left Alive is great too.
Yeah, his vampire movie, his latest. Yeah, you know, I just can't go wrong.
I wonder if anybody had any like observations about this that they wanted to sort of bring up that we'll kind of kick around up here.
Some people kind of want to say, you know, Jarmusch makes the same film over. There were criticisms, you know, he hit like the third film between Night on Earth and, you know, Somewhere There, Mystery Train, Night on Earth. He's kind of doing the same thing over and over. But I never really felt that way. You know, I always felt there was some kind of poetry in what he was doing. He really, I don't know, just kind of a beauty and a poetry to every film he's ever done. So,
and it was so different from anything anybody else was doing.
Superficial look, yeah.
Even if he had been doing a continuation of like the same film, it's still so unique and so different.
Yeah, I don't see that as a criticism.
I wonder if people like. I wonder if like when this came, because I've had this whole thing with like recent movies like Force Majeure and some other movies where like people will tell me they watched it and it was like, oh yeah, it was real sad and dark. I was like, that funny movie. I wonder if anybody watched this movie and was just like, that was a sad movie about sad men.
Come on, there aren't. I mean, sad movie. Come on, it's a movie. Yeah. What's that line in Fassbender line at the beginning of the Third Generation? They're showing a clip from Bresson's The Devil Probably, which ends with the suicide. Mm-hmm. Someone goes, this movie's so sad. And the guy, very beginning of the movie, goes, well, as long as movies are sad, life isn't. Yeah, that's how I view it. Yeah. Art isn't sad. Good art is not sad.
What does it mean if the movie's really funny? Is life sad?
Yeah. Kind of.
That shook me up a little bit. I'll be honest.
No, I mean, you know, it's a sad movie. What are you, a kid? What are you?
I wonder if we have any contributions or any questions or anything.
Or observations, please. We're no experts.
Or jokes.
It was like a slideshow. You know what I mean? The little parts would just come on and very little camera movement. And, you know, very...
the camera, it almost feels like a ethical choice to tilt, you know, just to pan the camera. You know, it's so minimal. And the choice to have the black between them, I think, just that rhythm of that. I remember them being longer. Looking at this time, each scene is really pretty short. There's kind of a nice elliptical. It sort of clips along. In my memory, some of the scenes were longer, but I was thinking of other scenes.
You know what it kind of feels like? It feels like when you see like a daily cartoon strip in the newspaper, there'd be 3 frames. It's kind of each scene is like 3 frames. Mm-hmm. And then it's like you turn the next day of newspaper.
I wonder, here's a question. Do you think all the blacks between are the exact same length, or are those paced differently?
There's no way to know.
Anyone know?
There's no way to find out.
We got a film. You could put it up. No, you know. That's someone's homework assignment in the next week. Whoever's the most bored here and has the most time on their hands, get a video and actually count the
get like the Criterion
seconds.
Cast to do like a video essay where they just cut out the black and the whole thing is just the black.
Yeah. There's a lot of good. I was impressed with the soundtrack too. There's a lot of great like off-screen sound over those blacks and everything. I don't know. It's impressive.
Yeah, the movie really goes. Yeah, right over here.
I like the line in this movie where they say, it's funny how you try to go someplace new and everything looks just the same.
Yeah, to them especially.
Make Florida look cold.
Yeah, I know. They get all the way to Florida where it's supposed to be bikinis and all that, and it's just that grim kind of shitty motel, nothing. It's just, if that's your view of the world, that's all you're going to see. Yeah, not as as grim as Cleveland.
I was recognizing, like, when Ava's wearing that hat, doesn't like Ingrid Bergman wear that in Notorious, that same hat or something? Someplace where I've seen that same weird hat. Does anybody know this?
Yeah, find the hat.
We don't know. Nobody knows. I look like an idiot over here saying, I'm talking about the hat. Okay. I wonder if we have any... Yeah, right over here.
I like that this movie is just like showing Jarmusch the best of black and white. And it's
Yeah.
like, this is a great series for Wasteland because it's like everything's a wasteland, even Florida. But it's like when they go to Cleveland to see the beautiful fucking
Lake.
all you see is
It's just a whiteout. I know. I love that scene so much.
absence of everything.
The whole trip.
And it's such a different, like, this kind of black and white is so different from like Raging Bull black and white, which is like this beautiful silver black and white. This is just a shitty looking,
it's low budget,
awful looking black and white. But it achieves this beauty, of course.
Yeah, in between the first section, I think there is a year apart. The New World, that was a short, and then they raised money to turn it into a feature, and I think some time did go by. And that first part, just tidbit, I think Wim Wenders had donated his short ends, his leftover film from The State of Things, a film he did around that time. I think Sarah Driver might have worked on it, or Nicholas Ray knew. There was some connection. He was Nicholas Ray's assistant on a film, so they were. So that was the old tradition, because if you're a no-budget filmmaker, the absolute most expensive thing is film stock. Someone might have a camera or a Nagra, and actors will work for nothing, but film stock is a chunk. So filmmakers, it might be in your refrigerator, and you would just give it to someone else. And he got leftover film stock to get going, and the film looks a little different. If you notice that first part, and then 1 year later, slightly different grain on that. It's probably
short ends can create aesthetic choices that you have to make. When we talk about to explain what short ends were. Is like if you were shooting, if you're shooting and you know that you need to use 10 minutes of film and you got 5 minutes of film left in the camera, then you unload that magazine and then that film's just kind of, nobody does anything with it. Those are called short ends.
Yeah, it might be, say 1,000-foot mag, you might end up with 200 feet, 150, sometimes 500, but you might buy a film short ends or donate your short ends. And sometimes if a film might have entire unopened rolls, that's the real, pay dirt. If you just get unopened cans of film, you get the full 1,000. In 35 and 16, it would be 400 foot.
So this was shot in 35 and not 16 blow up.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was 35
because it looks so grainy and shitty.
I think that's called slightly underexposed. Sure. Not overly lit, not over.
Sure.
You can get that look.
Because I always assumed it was like a 16 blow
just
up.
a higher speed film.
Yeah.
No,
that's art house projectionists through the years.
Yeah, I
think
that's 30 years of projection. I love that about film, though. The real change is coming.
Why do we like that? Because if you talk to a 20-year-old, they're like, "Oh, I hate it." But why do we like the scratchy look of film? Because I love it.
I don't know. Yeah, just
What's wrong with us? Why do we? Is it a nostalgic thing?
I don't know. Yeah.
Because there's something.
If it feels like. Yeah, it's been lived in. It's real.
It feels authentic, It feels like you're seeing the real light that, shone off of, Esther Balint's nose.
Yeah, she's so great, Esther.
Esther, do you know her?
I did. I met her once in Berlin at the film festival, in 1990. So that was only so many years. She was in a film there.
Could you introduce me?
You'd be in line, believe me. She was the coolest, most sought after young woman.
Oh my God! When I was a teenager, first saw this, it was just like, where do I go?
Everyone's where is Esther? But I don't know. What's Esther doing today? Does anybody know?
Stone silence.
Stone silence.
Oh, is that true?
Awesome.
I haven't caught up with that last season of Louis.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's a super hip choice,
so
man.
She's still in New York then. And and do you know who's in our thank yous here at the end? Who gave Jarmusch a solid? Our very own Janet Pearson, who's here, is in the thank yous. Wow. She was running the film forum at the time, and Jarmusch apparently they were fundraising for the next, so she let him show the film, the first section, the short, New World, and the rest is history. So.
You can live on that for a while.
Yeah. But she
by the way, I'm in the
spelled her
credits.
name wrong. What was it, Janet? I don't know.
I wonder if we got any other contributions in the back. Somebody's
sorry, we're
frantically
just about nothing.
gesticulating.
It seems like his relationship to music is, for me, that's kind of one of my favorite things about his movies.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just wondering if he's ever told you anything about that, and what his music and musicians, and it seems like in every movie there's some special, almost kind of homage.
Yeah, the music in this, it's just so cool. Again, like I was ragging on MTV before, you couldn't get farther from the music of 1984 than Screamin' Jay Hawkins. And I like it that John Lurie, who's the cool, downtown musician, doesn't like it, but Richard and everybody else does. It's just kind of a funny detail. He would probably like it. And Screamin' Jay shows up in Mystery Train as an actor. I think he said Jim Jarmusch was the only white guy he ever liked. But yeah, music. Jarmusch always. He described his music taste once as he likes all music, like everything imaginable, but like a really narrow band of everything. Like he likes rap, but just everything, but very within any genre, really particular taste.
Jarmusch a cool guy.
Kind of Jarmuschian idea.
He's a cool guy. Jarmusch.
Yeah, the times I've been around, really, really great guy. He one time he called me up out of the blue. I was heading to the Cannes Film Festival or something, and he called me and just said, "Hey, have fun over there." I said, yeah. And I was like, "Yeah." And he was like, and we just got to talking about it, and he was just talking about like screenings, because he won awards with this film and over the time. But he told me about his Dead Man screening, and this is Jim because he's self-effacing in that way. But he said the Dead Man screening. He was sitting in between Johnny Depp and Neil Young, and Cannes is like a boxing match. They want those French really act like it's super important, this new film or whatever. So the lights, the film ends, goes to dark, and that's kind of the moment. Like, is it going to be a standing ovation, or are you going to get booed? You've heard all these stories. He says in that little pin drop, silent 5 seconds, it gets filled with, from the balcony, some guy goes, "Jim, it is a piece of shit." And the whole audience is like, "Ugh," and he just kind of like crawls out of the theater or something. It's like, you don't know what you're getting into. But yeah, he has a kind of a great story about everything. So, but that was funny.
Right, all the way in the back.
First, on the cold thing, you gotta wonder if they waited for the coldest part of the trip to go down to the lake.
Oh, that's brutal. Aren't you freezing just watching that?
But I love how she was so happy to see them.
Yeah.
Because she had been, like, when she left, it was like the peck on the cheek or whatever, but then it was just like, she let her emotions show for this short period of time.
That is sweet,
But I was also wondering how many people appeared on screen. I should have counted at the end. Besides them,
Not many.
the missed handoff of the money.
Even like extras, if you included every human being in any frame in that movie, you're under what? Even with extras.
How about the bus
Even
stop?
the airport,
the bus stop guy.
everything's empty. Even the airport, it's really just one guy at a terminal. It's not like some crowd. You never see a line. What's that? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, there's one flight
Leaving in 40 minutes. Yeah. That's pretty great.
How great is the scene with the guy at the bus stop where he's got to go work in the factory and they're all just like, whoa. Oh.
Yeah, I like that. Hey, man, where are you going? I'm going to work. Where do you work? Factory. It's like, oh, man, I feel sorry. This is a factory.
That's such a great scene. They're so beaten down.
Yeah,
Like, oh my God.
Working.
Yeah. It's like they drove past a corpse and they're just like, oh, we'll die someday. It's like, we could be working in a factory. It's like, what the hell did they do?
I forgot that Ava worked at a hot dog stand. That was funny.
And that guy, the boyfriend dude, that's so perfect.
Yeah, he's kind of great, isn't he? I like that he's on a date, but then the seating is Ava's between them and he's on the. That's what you immediately just laugh at that.
Oh, it's the best.
That's funny. If you think about it, she has the total American immigrant experience, comes over with these great expectations, and just gets like, before you know it, you're working at a hot dog stand in Cleveland. Welcome to America. It's not much different. 1897, 1905, or 1984.
Yeah, it's exactly true. America sucks.
Land of opportunity. We need help.
Right,
with the
right
hot
over
dog
here,
stand.
right?
You think how it would have differed if they had mobile phones back in the day? We might not have had a movie at all. I don't know.
Because they'd just be talking on their
Absolutely.
phone the whole time?
The way they kind of miss up. You forget that. I think people have completely forgotten life before you were like, where'd they go? I sat here all day. No one says that anymore. That's gone. You go to pick someone up at the airport, and it's like, Where the fuck are they? Oh, they're down in baggage. They didn't. They said they didn't check a bag. Yeah, they did. And an hour and 20 minutes. You're leaving a message on their machine and hoping they'll check their messages and saying, okay, if you get this, I'm gonna meet you. Okay. Call my machine, and I'll check. And you're checking every 5 minutes from a payphone. We spend a lot of time lost and misconnecting, and that's what a lot of this movie. It's a lot of is in there.
I don't know. I'd probably trade cell phones for that. Like all the great experiences of just trying to figure out where the hell Tony is. Where's my pot dealer?
You're at it was often like your late night. Someone's at a party and they're like, "Hey, we're going that later," and then you look around, they're not there, and the party's going this way, and you're just like, "I don't ever see you again."
You have another adventure.
Yeah, it's like
you end up in Cleveland.
Yeah, I don't know, different world.
I think we had a contribution right over here.
Yeah, I was going to say just like so much of Jarmusch is exclusion of things. You don't see him make the decision to go to Budapest, and I forget Ava, like she doesn't say much, but she has you just feel this independence from her or something. And then there's like the jailbreak and Down by Law you don't see, and I'm just like, I'm amazed in the bravery of just like being ballsy enough to cut up those moments, and I wonder like how he would have to overcome that and overcome that doubt of what he's supposed to do,
I don't know. It's a bold choice. His films are really so much about off-screen space and kind of what doesn't happen. I think you see that actually in L'Argent that's coming up. I'll pitch once more. Bresson, a lot of off-screen, like a lot of the action. You see the results of it. You see, there's a little bit of a tradition in that. But I kind of like that. The rebellion against, we've seen that every time. We've seen every jailbreak. You never see them, let's do the part that, let's focus on what films usually don't focus on. Quentin does that so well, too.
But you also see a lot of that coming out of the sort of golden age of documentarians in the 60s, where you wouldn't see everything, because if they weren't on the scene, they wouldn't go back and fake it, like Penny Baker or the Maisels wouldn't go back and fake it. So you have to, like in Salesman or something, which you kind of have to figure out what the hell's what happened.
Just based on what you get. Yeah, it makes you kind of participate. It doesn't lay it all out for you. So, makes you work a little bit.
Creates active viewership.
Right over here, it's kind of a subversive notion.
It is.
Just a note on the guy who worked at the factory. I used to live in the Lower East Side in the early 80s. The guy was a junkie. He was waiting on a dealer. There was no bus stop. And the way he scratches and he sniffles, he was a junkie.
Interesting theory. Interesting theory. He was a junkie.
I was going to say you knew the guy, and he was a junkie.
Yeah.
He had pretty good skin. Didn't seem that old.
So he was scratching his arms, like sniffling a little bit, a little junk sick. Yeah.
He just stepped out of the connection.
Waiting for the man. All right, that was a good theory. I wonder if we have right over here. Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe, would take you out of it. I'm not sure how many people noticed in the line where he puts on the sunglasses and says, "Oh, now we look like real tourists." He gets back in the car. I noticed very clearly reflected in the window a guy holding a flashlight. And if I were to see that in a movie that came out today, I might, think of it as this, this big mistake. Why is it there? But I don't know. I kind of enjoyed it. I don't know what it was about it. People who did make mistakes. I don't know. What do you think is the thing that sort of makes us forgive things like that?
Yeah, I don't really mind that when you look hard. It's usually when you've seen a film a number of times. In the editing room back in the day, you just had to make a decision. Is the audience going to look? I want them to be looking here at the characters, but if they happen to look there at the bumper, they're going to see our whole crew. Now you can go, we'll just, paint that out very easily and digitally. But back then it was, we're talking a lot of money. That would be rotoscoping if it's moving, $30,000, $40,000 in 3 weeks, a month, just not an option. You kind of discover that in dailies or in posts, and you're like, oh shit, I didn't see that. I like it. It humanizes it to me. It's made by humans, not machines. And go through film history, and the greatest films ever have little flaws.
There's a wristwatch in Spartacus.
Little things, little things. It's just,
true.
I don't mind. Now it becomes, I think there's less tolerance, just because it's fairly inexpensive to fix these little flaws. The wristwatch, you could just paint it out. You could. But I don't know.
It is one of those things that I don't know. When I see it, I don't just like it. I love it.
Yeah. It's not.
If you see a camera crew or something, it's like because it's
especially the older it gets. Something that's been vetted through film history. If you catch a flaw, it just seems that much more real.
Because every movie is a documentary about that movie in a way.
Mm-hmm.
That's a heavy duty theory that I don't understand. So I'll shut up.
But at all.
What they say.
But yeah, even in every masterpiece, have you seen Blow Up lately? The scene where they're rolling around. I've seen that film, I don't know, between 10 and 20 times, a bunch. And someone finally said, oh, the scene where they're rolling around, he's in the photography studio, and he's with the groupies, and they're just kind of rolling around on the paper. If you really look up, there's like 2 grips in the shot. Right up in the corner. I mean, there's no way you should be looking up there at that point. But if you are... Next time you watch Blow Up, just look in the upper right. And there's like some guys who are working on the film. Yeah. So it's a perfect scene to sneak into the movie, and they probably didn't even notice it in dailies. So.
I wonder if we got anything else. So, right over here.
I was actually curious if you had any insight kind of in the lack of close-ups, and then almost like complete lack of extreme close-ups, especially considering kind of the new German influence.
Yeah, I think that's what's a really bold choice. Every scene is one shot, obviously. There's no cutting, traditional editing, no close-up of anything. So.
You think it was more budgetary limitations, or because I know Jarmusch obviously will take his time with it, but there were some moments where maybe a little punch in or something really felt like it would have done something.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Ozu reference isn't out of line early. I think that's just it's a cinematic. Yeah, it's a huge choice, obviously. But I think it is advantageous, I speak from experience, on like a low budget for continuity reasons and things like that. But, I think he was just trying to go as far as possible from making anything that resembled, a TV movie or traditional cutting or traditional master, shot, reverse shot that just, he just challenges you. It's that, Andre Bazin notion of mise-en-scène, let your eye do it. And that's the beauty of this film, I think. You really do. Some of the humor is you catch a detail. You're just looking at everything and your eye goes here and something funny happens and you just kind of dig it. It makes it more charming because you found it on your own. So that there's a tradition of that, but it is still extremely gutsy.
It's not like you're shooting coverage on this movie.
No, and how great is Aunt Lottie is genius.
So good.
Those are some of the longer scenes, and she just sticks it at the end. She just nails it. Like, what's up with her? It's like, anybody know about Aunt Lottie? Was she an actor? Was she?
She's so comfortable, and like the rhythm that she sets up with the way that she's talking in Hungarian is so funny.
It's so funny.
Oh, it's the best.
She's so fucking great.
Was that Jarmusch in the background in the hot dog shack?
Yeah, because at the hot dog, there's hardly anyone there. That's him in the back. Tom DiCillo, who's the director of photography, he's the airline guy.
Oh, that's who that is. Okay.
Yeah, that's DiCillo, who's gone on to direct a bunch of movies. So yeah.
Right over here.
There's something else with style, something I really enjoy. I don't see it often. Richard, if you could comment on this. At the end of the scene, somehow we've been conditioned through most movies at the end of the shot, at the end of a scene, there's sort of like a natural cut, and then it segues to the next scene. This one, it drags on for another few seconds. I don't see it often. When I do, I really enjoy it because you get a little extra body language. Something's happening in the background, and but it's really enjoyable to see that. And you mentioned Aunt Lottie. If you watch her scenes specifically, watch the end of those scenes, and it's very appealing. It's like a drag or something. I don't know how to explain.
Yeah, and there's often those cuts are very humorous. Like because it's either gone beyond where you think, or it cuts early. Like a few times, it's like, oh, that was it. That's kind of funny too. And then other times, it's like, okay, I guess that's it. So I don't know. Each one had its own place, and I guarantee you, they spent a lot of time in the editing room. It almost feels unedited. Oh, we just took the best take of each thing we did and just put them together in an afternoon. No, I guarantee you, there's scenes missing. They screenings. I guarantee you there was so much thought went into just those frames, that differential, the timing of all that.
So who are you, like? You like comedy, obviously. Who are your favorite comedy directors? Who are the comedy directors you look at and go, oh, they got it? Like that's someone who's just got the gift of making me laugh.
In the indie, or like what?
In any world,
oh, who makes you?
Because like Jarmusch, he has funny bones.
Yeah.
Like even if you don't consider this a comedy, he has funny bones.
Yeah, it's always funny. Filmmakers who are just continuously funny. Oh, there's so many. I mean, well, in this same era, and we're not showing any of his films so far, but who aren't comedians or filmmakers. Like
filmmakers,
like Albert Brooks.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah,
Woody Allen, obviously.
Right. As he went on, because Woody Allen's sort of sense of comedy developed as he went on and made more movies. Because if you look at the early movies,
it shifts. Yeah, it changes. It matures. It does whatever. But I guess that's natural. God, who are the funniest? I mean, so many. That's what
All right. Well, we'll get back to that later when we do a comedy. Although most of the movies we're showing are big downers, but I was thinking.
But within those downers, there's comedy.
There's humor, right?
Yes, quite often.
In the middle, back here, yeah.
We're searching for it. The TV dinner.
Little fast food nation.
Yeah, at the time I thought that was kind of a little obvious. Of all the funny scenes, that one felt like, you might see it. That might have been on a TV show or something. That felt like the least original humor in the movie in a way. It's funny, especially to an outsider, someone coming to our country, that's funny, but that didn't feel, those TV dinners have been around a while, and I don't know, it just seemed kind of.
It was like doing jokes about airline food or something, kind of.
A little bit, yeah. Just like it was, that wasn't, but it's funny. I appreciated it more now than I did back then.
It was kind of Repo Man that really had the great food jokes.
Yeah.
With eating generic food out of a can.
Put it on a plate, it'll taste better.
I think maybe we take one more contribution from the audience, and then we start talking about next week's movie. We'll do that. One last contribution right over here in the blue shirt.
I noticed one thing that was interesting. I was listening to the music, and the non-screaming Jay Hawkins, the string quartet, and it was sounding real familiar to me. And I realized what it was reminding me of was the music in Waking Life. It was Tosca. And then I kind of took it one step further and said, well, it's interesting because Strangers in Paradise also has sort of a surreal, sort of dreamlike quality to it. And I don't know what was making me connect the two, but I just thought it was kind of interesting.
Cool. I don't know if it's not exactly tango music. It's more like, but that. Yeah, I'd kind of forgotten the music in this.
Didn't John Lurie write that string stuff?
Yeah, I think he did. Is that his? Does anyone know?
It was in the credits.
Yeah.
He did that's the score to it, and and that's his music.
Yeah, I think
there was
so.
others. I think he gets credit for the score, so that's his, and that's kind of I don't know, more serious. Strings.
Well, I thought it was like Bartok or something.
Yeah. But it's effective. It kind of gives that sort of feel to the whole movie. It's a little kind of a refrain, but
So when we were going over the series and starting this, one movie that we kind of just kept going back over again and over again was the next one, which is Pope of Greenwich Village. You're like, I don't know if it's still going to be good. I don't know. And this is one that I know what a huge Eric Roberts fan you are.
And Mickey Rourke. And
Mickey Rourke,
There's Pope of Greenwich Village. I remember having seen Mickey Rourke in a number of films at that point, Eric Roberts in a few, including, what we've shown here. So looking forward to Pope of Greenwich Village. These two great actors, Mickey Rourke and Eric Roberts, were the guys. They were the best two young actors of that, generation. And I just remember being really enthused, to see them together chewing up the scenery. And that's what they do in this movie. I have no idea. I feel like, and this is, it's kind of the end of an era of a certain kind of acting. Like the next generation, they're a little more, they're less like punching door screaming kind of thing. That's the kind of the Brando, that era. I think Rourke and Roberts are sort of at the end of that. I don't know if I had to just generalize. It feels like there's a different kind of acting was emerging.
Like John Cusack was next.
Yeah,
Matthew Broderick was next.
Yeah, Nick Cage even. Just kind of a little more Sean Penn. It's just a little different culture, different, time, different tone. So I'm looking at it really with those guys in mind. Like, is that, what does that feel like today? Those performances in that movie, because it's big. It's big. It's dramatic. It's they're these kind of screw up guys. But they're a much more demonstrative New York duo than these guys. Put it like that.
They're really just emoting and gesticulating and getting
it's like
into
a big
it.
deal. And it's action. Gets his thumb. It's like I remember just liking it. So but I haven't seen it in a long time. So I'm wondering. It fits in that category of curious how it holds up.
Yeah. So this is the sort of journey that we're taking through this whole thing.
But it's a nice exploration, because other films I don't have to. I know how a lot of them, even though I haven't seen some of them lately, I know how they hold up. They're fucking masterpieces. L'Argent again. I'll pitch. But that one, I don't know. You just see how styles change, how movies look different, all that. But I was super pleasantly surprised last year when we ran through all those titles. Overwhelmingly, I felt like, oh, that film's better than I even remember. So that's what I like that feeling.
Yeah, and then after that we show Blue Velvet, and I got one little sort of procedural note is
Blue
that
Velvet will be holding up. I'm sure.
Oh yeah,
there's no doubt Lynch's masterpiece. We could be here 150 years from now and would be going, okay, Blue Velvet.
And I'm sure there's a lot of people that haven't seen Blue Velvet, and we all
Especially
assume that everybody has.
35 widescreen.
Oh my God,
on,
get out of here!
Don't miss it.
But I got to mention
2 chances
procedurally. That you're not going to be here on 2 Wednesdays from now.
Yeah.
Because you got to go do something else, but you're going to come back and we're going to rebook a. So we'll do Blue Velvet on that Wednesday, and we'll film a video intro with you, and then we'll do the Sunday following. Is you'll be here, and we'll show Blue Velvet again, and all your passes and everything are good for that, and so we'll.
So Blue Velvet gets two screenings. So
yeah, it gets 2 screenings.
You can't come Wednesday night. You come Sunday. No excuses.
You come both times
fun.
and watch it twice.
Yeah,
which is a good idea.
I can't wait. I haven't seen that on the big screen in a while. Even that's one of our more popular titles, I think, in this series. But I look forward to so much. Once Upon a Time in America. Has anyone here seen that lately on the big screen? Last series we had a couple epics. We had The Long Das Boot. We had Reds. Yeah. We had some big ones. Fanny and Alexander was, it's big. So it was. The only one we have epic is Once Upon a Time in America.
That's a big one, and that's
Sergio Leone's last film.
It's the director's cut, but it's not the Cannes cut, because that's not out there. You can't get that in America. Someday you'll be able to get that in America.
But
so it's 11 minutes shorter than that.
Certainly not the. Yeah.
No, not that bullshit
not
cut.
That
no.
cut. Yeah, that film had a disastrous release in the U.S. where the studio recut it. It's just a sad story we'll talk about on that night. But yeah, we're showing the
3 hour. It's like 3 hours and 20 minutes or something. It's real long.
But it's great. It's De Niro, and James Woods, and Pesci's in it. It's Leone. It'll be great.
Yeah.
Young Jennifer Connelly, Elizabeth McGovern. It's great.
All right, so we got a lot of stuff coming up, and we need you here for all these Wednesdays.
Yeah.
All right.
Don't forget those French crime films. Those are treat. Every one of those is great. Try to make those. So.
Yeah. So starting Friday, come and watch Sicilian Clan.
Basically, live at the Marchesa.
Yeah, you should.
If you want to complete. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks a lot
for
everybody.
being here. See you soon.
Thanks, Rick.